All right, so I did the West. I'm going to do the East. And again, this is just, for me personally, looking over teams and viewing players that I think will be the top scorer, the biggest injury risk on the roster, the comeback player this year in likelihood, breakthrough, so a guy that I think is going to score a bunch more points, and then the top addition. And some teams haven't really made any additions, so I'm not trying to be sarcastic. I'm just saying, hey, you know, and I don't count rookies on this because rookies will be a whole other discussion for a whole other video. I just want to get into veterans, and then we'll discuss rookies later. Boston. Marchand's the top scorer with 85 points. He, of course, missed some games with injury and with suspension. David Backes is the injury risk at 59 games played. He's just broken down at this point for the most part. And I don't say that to insult him. It's just, it's the case. I really think that when Boston picked him up from St. Louis, I think he was already just declining. That's why I didn't like the contract signing a whole lot when they did it. Brandon Carlo, 6 points seems low. I know he's only a defensive defenseman, but that seems insanely low for him. And I think he's better than that. Louis DeBrusque is my breakthrough candidate with 43 points just because the guy's a complete warrior. He will play injured. He'll play on one leg. He's got a lot of his dad in him. Top addition. I could have gone with Halak, but I went with John Moore because I think it helps a little bit on their blue line. I don't expect him to play a ton. If he plays a ton, it means Boston's in trouble. Buffalo. Be a lot of Eichel in this one. Eichel's their leading scorer at 64 games. He's also the injury risk. Played 67 games last year. Eichel's an injury risk because if something happens to Eichel, any hopes of Buffalo getting better this year, scuttled. Done. Forgotten. But comeback, I still, Zemgus Girgensons. I know he hasn't shown anything. I know there's going to be people say, really, Girgensons? But 15 points and 7 goals. He has to be better than that. Doesn't he? Is he going to Europe? Is it going to happen soon? Eichel, breakthrough, 64 points. Again, I think there's a lot to be said for what Buffalo's been able to do this offseason to help fix things. And I know the Ryan O'Reilly deal looks like they're taking a bath, and I get why people say that, and I'm not going to argue for or against it. And the fact that St. Louis actually saves cap money with that trade. So Buffalo didn't even get cap money back. But Eichel is the guy. He is the guy. He has to be the guy, or else they're in trouble. And I do see him as a breakthrough candidate. I do not see him as being a Connor McDavid-like kind of player, but he's better than what we've seen so far because he needs to play a full, healthy season with a decent roster. Carter Hutton's the top addition because Linus Ullmark, if he falters, it's all up to Hutton. Carolina, Sebastian Aho with 65 points is the top scorer, and I don't think that's the tops in terms of how high he can go. Injury risk, I went with Pesce, 65 games played. For the comeback, Scott Darling. Because he can't be worse than what he was last season, and they've already said that they're going to keep him. So he has to be better. Victor Rask is a breakthrough candidate for me, 31 points. I think there's more there, but again, with Carolina, it's kind of hard to... Yeah, it's a tough call with Carolina. We'll just leave it at that. Dougie Hamilton's the top addition. How Dougie Hamilton plays on that blue line, combined with the progression of their goaltending, will decide how this season goes, if it goes any better than last year. Columbus, Panarin's the top scorer, 82 points. And, of course, if you're a Columbus fan, you're looking at it going, yeah, we know. Can we keep him? And I get it. I see Murray as being the injury risk. He only played 44 games last year. Ryan Murray's really kind of fallen off. And it's weird because there were plenty of people, myself included, that felt that, you know, if the Oilers had drafted Murray, that might have been more of what they needed. And yet if they had, we would still be talking about, the Oilers drafted Murray. Remember how stupid that was? You just can't win. Boone Jenner, 13 goals. He's capable of more than that, so I'm going to have him as the breakthrough or comeback player, breakthrough player. Dubois' 48 points are just the beginning. I really believe that Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to score a lot of points in his NHL career. And top addition, Riley Nash. You guys are going to love him in Columbus. We loved him in Boston. I'm not happy that Boston lost him. I understand why, but I don't like it. Detroit, Dylan Larkin, 63 points. He's capable of more than that. I think we can all agree on that. Green, Injury risk, 66 games played last year. At this stage of his career, with just the amount of miles put on him, he's going to be an injury risk. Nyquist with 40 points. He's got to be better than that. So I'm going to put him as the candidate for a comeback. Larkin, 16 goals. I think Larkin has offensive ability to score goals. I think he can get to 20, 25. And I don't think it'll take that much. I think Larkin's on the verge of some big things now that he's into his, I believe this is his 4th year, right? Jonathan Bernier's the big addition because if Jimmy Howard gets injured or falters at all, it could be Bernier's show. Bernier is a decent goaltender. Florida, Sasha Barkov led the way with 78 points. Luongo's your injury risk. At this stage of his career, he will probably be an injury risk every year. Comeback player, I couldn't really find one. I could not look at a guy on Florida's roster and say, well, he's going to be better than that next year. It was, I mean, there's a lot of good players there, and there's a lot of guys who had good seasons. Breakthrough player, I went with Ekblad. I know Ekblad scored a bunch of goals, but he only had 38 points, and he's capable of 50+. Ekblad's a pretty darn fine defenseman. And top addition's clearly going to be Mike Hoffman. What kind of dynamic will they have in their roster with Mike Hoffman? That's going to be really fascinating to watch this year. Montreal, Gallagher's their leading scorer with 54 points, which is really low. Really, really low. Your injury risk is Andrew Shaw, who will not be ready to start the season at last report. Maybe ready to start the season according to him. Or no, I think it's November for him. Anyways, he is the injury risk. Carey Price is the comeback guy for me because he has to be. This 900 save percentage, he's better than that. He's definitely better than that. For points, Victor Mete, 7 points. I think he'll be your breakthrough candidate. I think Mete got his feet wet last year, and I think he's a decent defenseman. And Bergevin's job could be saved by this kind of thing. If him and Joelson are ready, that could help. And the big addition is Max Domi. We'll see where that goes. New Jersey, Hall with 93 points. Career year? Probably. Zajak's 63 games played makes him the injury risk. And again, over 30. Missed a bunch of games with injury. Corey Schneider's my comeback candidate because I still think Corey Schneider's a pretty fine goaltender. I'll take him back in Vancouver right now. I would have no problem with him coming back to Vancouver. That wouldn't bother me at all. I know he didn't play well last year. Well aware of that. And my breakthrough candidate's Nico Hischier. I think the 52 points are just the beginning for him. And then top addition, I don't know. And again, I'm not including rookies, so I can't put a rookie on the board because if I do it for New Jersey, I got to do it for everybody. The Islanders, Barzal was their leading scorer, and this is not me pulling Tavares down. Barzal outscored Tavares. What we're going to find out this year with the Islanders, honestly, is Barzal is either better than we thought, or he was sheltered behind Tavares. One or the other. And Islander fans are going to tell you Barzal is better than we thought. And he has a shot this year because he's going to get that extra ice time because they do lack in depth at some areas. Barzal could get enough ice time for 100 points. He could get 75 assists, 80 assists. He has that capability. Boychuk, 58 games played. Again, with the mileage he's got and with the amount of games he missed last year, he's an easy candidate to miss time this year as well. Bounce back candidate, I'll go with Ladd. Because 12 goals, I'm not a huge Andrew Ladd fan, but 12 goals is low for him. And I would think if anybody can bounce back, he could. And 12 goals, he should be able to score at least 20 this year. I would think 18 to 20 is more his range. Ho-Sang with 12 points is my breakthrough candidate because new ownership, maybe this is the year it happens for Josh Ho-Sang. Maybe. A little bit. And Robin Leonard is the top addition. Again, Grace probably isn't going to be a starter. Not based on his numbers last year, he shouldn't be. And Leonard comes in with better numbers. I know, Buffalo fans are like, his numbers sucked at Buffalo. Yeah, check out Grice's numbers in New York. And we can talk about the defense that he played behind, and sure, but Leonard didn't play behind a stellar defense in Buffalo either. There's a reason that Buffalo fans and management are doing a backflip over getting Dahlin into the lineup. Rangers. Zuccarello led the way with 53 points. pointing to a kind of anemic attack. But Chris Kreider, 58 games played. He's your injury risk, and he's part of the reason why Zuccarello was the leading scorer. Buchnevich, 14 goals. He's got to be the comeback guy. Buchnevich is capable of more than that. He's got a ton of talent. Now, is he going to end up being an Afinogenov kind of player where you're always waiting for that next moment to emerge, or is he genuinely going to be a star player? Pionk is my breakthrough candidate. He had 14 points in 28 games, and I think that's just the start for him. I thought about going with Gilmore, but I think Gilmore's still technically a rookie and Pionk isn't. Top addition, Clayson, I guess. If we wanted to, and I thought about doing this, I thought, well, what about guys who weren't full-timers last year, like a Georgiev? Maybe he'll be a full-timer this year. Could I put him up? Again, I didn't do it with the Western Conference. I didn't want to do it with the East. Ottawa, Stone, 62 points, is their leading scorer. Gaborik is going to be the injury risk. I didn't have the number of games because he split time between two teams. And it doesn't matter how many games he plays. Gaborik, at this stage of his career, will always be an injury risk. Carlson's minus 25 makes him the comeback candidate. And, of course, whether or not he starts the season or finishes the season as a Senator, we don't know yet. But right now, he is a member of the Ottawa Senators. So, therefore, ergo, I'm still putting him on this board. Shabbat's my breakthrough candidate, 25 points. I think that's just the start for him. And their top addition, Mikkel Bodker. We'll see what Ottawa's got. I mean, if they can somehow manage to keep Carlson, I really don't think it's that bad for Ottawa. Where I get concerned is if they lose Carlson, they don't get enough back. You can only trade him once. Say that all the time. Philly, Claude Giroux, 102 points. That's a career year. That'll probably get Claude back. But if he ends up with 80 to 85 points this year, that's still a damn fine season. Nolan Patrick's going to be my injury risk with 73 games played. I know there are going to be Flyers fans saying, well, he still played a lot of games. He did. But with his history from what predates the NHL, I kind of had to have him up there as the injury risk. Just because it can... It's one of the reasons he wasn't taken first overall. Elliott I have as the comeback because Elliott's better than what he showed in Philly last year. And Konechny's my breakthrough candidate with 47 points. I think Konechny could hit 60. James Van Riemsdyk's the top addition, and adding Van Riemsdyk should help the totals of their centers. So if Giroux moves back to center, which is one of the rumors that's coming out right now, if Giroux's centering a line with Van Riemsdyk, Giroux could still hit 100 points and have a ton of assists because JVR should be a 30-goal man this year. Pittsburgh, Malkin, 98 points. Malkin's also my injury risk, even though he played 78 games this past season. Why? Because he does usually miss time. This past season, he only missed 4 games, but I can't remove him from the injury risk category because it's there. Derek Brassard had 3 goals in 14 games after he arrived in Pittsburgh. I think with a full training camp behind him and starting the season in Pittsburgh, I think it'll be a different Brassard that you see for the Penguins. And Simone had 12 points. I think it was 33 games he played this year. He is my breakthrough candidate for them because he could play with Crosby. And if he doesn't play with Crosby, he could play with Malkin. He is a talented player. He's that kind of young, talented forward that they need in their lineup. So, we could see big numbers from him. He could take the place Sherry had, not this past season, but the year before. Jack Johnson's their top addition, and we'll see how it works out for him in Pittsburgh. And that first time Pittsburgh plays Columbus, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to be watching that. We may go ahead and do a live stream, live reaction to that one when it takes place, because that's going to be awesome. Tampa, Kucherov, 100 points is their leading scorer. Stamkos, 78 games is their injury risk. Why? Because Stamkos does tend to get injured. And again, you know, he didn't get injured much this past season. He only missed 4 games. But it's going to be in the back of your mind. At least it is for me as a hockey fan. That Stamkos, well, we'll see how his health holds up. Comeback candidate, much like with Florida, I couldn't find somebody in Tampa that I said, oh, he's going to have a big comeback. They all had pretty solid seasons for a team that went really quite far in the playoffs, but we will remember that Game 7 against Washington and that look on Stamkos' face when he realized this was falling apart. Braden Point, 66 points is my breakthrough candidate. Why? Because I think he's capable of more than that. I love Braden Point's game. And then if something happens with Stamkos, Point's going to be the one that gets that ice time. And I think he's a point-a-game player if he's a first-line center. And Andy Andrioff was the only notable, if that even counts as notable, for an addition for the Tampa Bay Lightning. Toronto, Mitch Marner was their leading scorer this past season with 69 points. Matthews is your injury risk with 62 games played. He had 2 major injuries last year. At least 2 injuries where he missed time. I don't want to say major injuries because that makes it sound like he had surgery and he was, yeah, no. 2 injuries that he had last year where he missed time. And the Leafs struggled without him the second time. The first time around they were fine, but the second time around they struggled without him. And I think that's a big part of the reason why Dubas went so hard after John Tavares. Nikita Zaitsev with 13 points is my comeback candidate. Look, he had a miserable year, and he has to be better than that. He has to be. Travis Dermott, also 13 points, is my breakthrough candidate. He played less than half the season. He'll play with the Leafs this year. I don't know if Dermott's a guy that I see as being a top 4, but he'll get that chance in Toronto. It is possible that Toronto's American Hockey League franchise could send a few guys up this year that turn things around for them, but I don't want to bank on that because there have been plenty of Calder champions before who they win a Calder at the American Hockey League level. They're a great team, but it's not always an indicator that that's necessarily the team with all the best prospects on it. John Tavares is, of course, the top addition for anybody anywhere in the league, and it's why Toronto fans are so excited. And when you see their top scorer had 69 points, you can kind of understand why. Top scorer for the Capitals, Ovechkin, 87 points. Niskanen's the injury risk at 68 games played. The amount of time he plays, the kind of game he plays, Niskanen's an injury risk. Comeback, I'm putting Holtby. Now, Holtby wins the Stanley Cup and holds it aloft, but if you look at his regular season numbers and that .907 save percentage, he's better than that. And with Grubauer gone, there's going to be all eyes on him, and I think Holtby's going to come through with shining colors. And now there's talk of, there was an interview with Samsonov where Samsonov said he intends to play for the Capitals as soon as this year. So if Samsonov comes in and plays really well and forces Phoenix Copley back to the American Hockey League, if Samsonov's his backup, Holtby knows how this works in Washington. They do routinely cycle through goaltenders, and they have a great goaltending system. Their feeder system for goalies is pretty impressive. It's quite a list of goalies they've spawned over the years. And Holtby doesn't want to be another one that gets jettisoned. So he should play really well this year. Burakovsky, 25 points is my breakthrough candidate. He didn't play the whole season either, but I think Burakovsky showed in the playoffs he's got something more there. There's definitely that extra gear there. And their big addition, the only one I could find was Nick Dowd, and I'm going to say this to Capitals fans. I hope the Nick Dowd that shows up in Washington is better than the one that played in Vancouver this past season. Some more motivation, something more there. And it could have been that he wasn't happy in Vancouver, things just didn't click. So we'll find out when he's in a Capitals uniform whether or not that was the case. So there you go. Just a fantasy overview, just some names to take down and keep track of. And again, this is only for entertainment purposes. Don't bet your mortgage on it because it's not a good idea. But yeah, so thank you guys so much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. I'll talk to you again soon.